Hi everyone, let's talk about Fortune and Glory, which I've just finished a whole playthrough for, a whole series of playthroughs. There's a few episodes you can go back and watch. If you haven't seen it yet, there's old hands and new hands getting in the way of each other, then you can click the link for the playlist. There's links in the description that'll take you to the various episodes. This is just me talking about the game if you're interested in what I think about it. And it's this. I love it, basically. I remember years and years and years ago when we were first getting into all of the board games, looking around at the game shop, seeing the great big box of Fortune and Glory and thinking, well, it's a bit pricey, but one day I want this. Then when it came time to actually getting hold of it all these years later, it's really out of print, especially the expansions. It's hard to come by at the moment. Hopefully that'll change in the future because, yeah, it's a pretty fantastic game. And on paper, a lot of the things that kind of I dislike in games or have disliked, on paper, a lot of the kind of what we're rolling to move, we're rolling to see how much movement we get, we're doing all this roll to resolve stuff constantly. Well, it's very, very dice based, isn't it? But something maybe with all of the kind of like getting into things like Eldritch Horror last year, and this changes kind of games that make these dynamic stories, these emergent stories out of a kind of smaller elements, not like little morsels of story, but like little bits of forming like a bigger story that works better often if it's a kind of sillier story. And Fortune and Glory completely nails that kind of Indiana Jones feel, especially like we went back a few weeks after I recorded this playthrough. I'm making the chair appear as I keep doing that with my hands. We went back and watched Raiders of the Lost Ark that I haven't seen for quite a few years, and like it really nails the like something is always happening in that film. Like there are the number of adventures and like little kind of troubles that Indy finds himself in is like it's constant, and it really nails that. I really like the kind of episodic feel it gets from the cliffhanger. You know, you have your turn, and the rulebook does a great thing of like we encourage players to introduce it as character's name and the artifact name. So it's like Sharon Hunter and the Goblet of the Gods, and yeah, it really does add a bit of flavor to it. But you are having a kind of, you know, a little episode where you're having all of these various dangers that tell are sometimes nonsensical, sometimes you are, you know, in a thick you're in a thick jungle in the middle of a pyramid, and suddenly you are stowing away on a boat. You gotta do a bit of adaptation to the story to work out, okay, well, maybe we're not quite in the temple yet, this is us going to the temple. There's a bit of that involved, but yeah, loosely it is telling like a really fun story of the particular adventure that you're on. And I like the dice element of the test is, you know, this is how many dice you get. You need these numbers to pass. But the element, unless it's a deadly test, the element of you only need to roll one success. As long as you roll one, that counts, and you can roll again, and maybe you'll get it that time. So there is kind of a wider scope of succeeding at the things, and even in the deadly tests you can kind of exert, take damage to retry these things. There's some mitigation going on. Having said that, it is down to the dice a lot of the time. You can pick stuff up as you start to earn the glory to be spent. You can start to earn more and more things. Like, it can kind of snowball. If you've seen the playthrough, spoilers for that, it went incredibly well for one character, fairly well for another character. Poor old Grant did spend a lot of the game just getting a bit kind of messed up, just failing most of the time. He came through in the end. I think in the last episode it all turned around for him, but largely it would have been a bit frustrating just playing Grant. But having said that, maybe the person playing him made some poor decisions throughout the game. But yeah, when it does all fall apart and you finally do fail, which, yeah, can happen more often than you'd like, then you get the other side of your danger card is a cliffhanger, and that adds to the kind of you know, episodic series of, or if you're thinking of it as a film, you know, okay, that's the end of our scene, that's the cliffhanger, now we're switching to the other character and they're doing their thing. So suddenly you are stowing away on a boat, and oh, you've been caught by the crew of it, or like you're suddenly like in quicksand or something like that. It really does add to a lovely story. The complete rulebook that I'm now showing on screen. This is just the playthrough playing in the background, I'm sure you've noticed. The complete rulebook is a really nice work, so I haven't actually bothered learning the game from the proper one. Like, it's all split across multiple rulebooks. Read fairly kind of negative reviews of the normal way of learning it. The complete rulebook does a great job of consolidating all that. Massive gratitude to the fans that have written all of that and have made all of the boards and stuff to kind of make it easier. Like, I am kind of playing it from the perspective of, not that I've played it too many times yet, I have got all of the expansions in, so I suppose I've got a bigger variety of cards and things in there. I've got the Order of the Crimson Hand as the vile organisation you can play against, but that's nice as well. That it's like people can kind of make guest appearances, whether they're the vile organisation or not. But playing against the mob and the Nazis so far, they're very different ways of working. The Nazis have got this Zeppelin that's going around the world that's dropping off soldiers. The mob are trying to get more hideouts out everywhere, so they'll earn more money throughout, and that will help them move up the terror track. It's a nice. It seems so far like a nicely tuned system that it seems like the vile organisation are getting towards their goal as you win, or it's a quite close games. But really, the win or loss has never been kind of the be-all and end-all of it. It's not really the focus. The silly story that is being made from all of these various elements is the key, really. And that's what I love so much about it. To the point where, like, I think I'm more open to kind of dicey things in games, but I always have been in kind of dungeon crawlers and things like that. It's when they're suddenly in Euro games, I'm not so fussed a lot of the time. But yeah, and it's been hard. Kind of, I welcome your suggestions. I don't feel like there are too many games like this. There is the Eldritch, the Arkham sphere of things that do this kind of cooperative storytelling kind of game. Like, it's not from a story. It's not getting a pre-written thing from a storybook. That's why I think like things like Arkham Second Edition, Eldritch Horror, they do a much better job. Although there are stories in, say, Arkham Horror Third Edition, the card game, there are stories being made, and the moments you will have in that game will make kind of extra bits to that story, extra memorable things. But that pre-written structure does have kind of bigger moments where you are sat around reading, and it doesn't make as engaging, certainly not as funny, certainly not as memorable stories as the random ones that happen from the various, things just bouncing around and clashing together in things like Fortune and Glory, Eldritch Horror, Arkham Second Edition. Like, there are, I'm sure, more out there. And yeah, I'd like to hear about more that I should give a go. I read about Secrets of the Lost Tomb, which may be like thematically similar to this. Seems a bit impossible to get. Seems like any ones you want to play like that, bit impossible to get. Agents of Smirsh, like, even though that has got a storybook and chapters, the kind of modular, more random way you are going around the world and experiencing these encounters makes for that funny, kind of crazy story that is happening. And yeah, that's a kind of game that I'm really, really into at the moment. But like Agents of Smirsh, we've always had and loved. It's kind of a rediscovery of some of the other things, and finally getting to stuff like Fortune and Glory, which, for a load of stuff that you can say about luck of the draw, luck of the dice, blah blah blah, I guess it's the biggest thing for me is the fact that the theme really comes across, the story really comes across, the kind of thrill of the adventure, but makes mainly the humor, the fun of the story. I really like drawing out the new artifacts and seeing the 2-card element gets you random kind of attributes for the artifacts as well, but just the names that are coming out, how they're springing up around the world, the dangers that come out, the events that you have in the cities. Yeah, loads of it is so random. If that is a concern, I tell you that, yeah, it is gonna be that way throughout. But yeah, I love it for that, basically. Hopefully you can see the playthroughs, you can see the series. I'd like to do another one at some point as well, with maybe a different vile organisation, different characters. Yeah, I absolutely recommend it. I recommend trying to find it out and giving it a go. If you do like it, it's a bit hard to get. I had it, you can save searches on eBay. That's basically what I did. I put in a saved search for Fortune and Glory, missed out on a load, finally got hold of one after maybe 6 months or more of having it saved. So yeah, you probably be waiting a while. You might end up paying a bit, especially if you want the expansions. But yeah, I am. It's been worth it for me, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. So that's Fortune and Glory. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you haven't seen the playthrough yet, thanks for sitting through this. And yeah, you can see what I'm talking about in the playthrough part. Hopefully that'd give you the best idea of whether or not you would be into Fortune and Glory as well. And yeah, there are hundreds more playthroughs on the channel. Look out for more story kind of things. I've done a few for Eldritch Horror at this point, and at the moment anyway, we're having a Story Sunday series where, yeah, Fortune and Glory has now come to an end, but there will be a new one next week, and I've got a few more lined up for the next few months as well. So yeah, they will keep coming, as well as the normal live things and pre-recorded playthroughs that I do. You can support the channel on Patreon and Ko-fi. There are links in the description. It's how I'm able to do this. Your support would be massively appreciated, and yeah, you can subscribe to the channel and that if you'd like to know about when stuff is coming. I'll leave you with Shelley Hargrove and the Heart of the Damned. Thank you so much for watching me, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.